start, I'm going to say that the secateurs are really important, because without them you can't undertake a lot of tasks like tidying up your tomato plants like this, or harvesting some fruits like pumpkins or tomatoes, or removing blighted material or other prunings, or cutting material up for the compost heap. It's another use for secateurs. So the second tool I recommend is a T-handle dibber. They're really good when you're putting plugs out, so we did a hole there like that, and then you get your plug plant and push it into the hole, and just back foot like that, and there you go. It's easy. Instead of doing with your fingers and trying to scrape away a little hole, you can just do loads of holes really fast and effortlessly like that. So another tool I recommend for a beginner is a trowel. It's a standard garden trowel, any old trowel will do, and they're really good for planting pots out, because you can just slide it in like that, get your pot of plants or plant, drop it in, and just bring the earth from that side around, and there you go, you've planted your plant in no time. It's easier than using your hands. They're cheap-ish, and they're worth it. The fourth tool I'd recommend would be a Dutch hoe. I wouldn't bother with the draw hoe, because with a Dutch hoe you can draw back like this to remove younger weeds, but you can also use it like a knife to cut out any larger weeds, and to just loosen up the top layer. You don't want to take too much down, otherwise it disturbs too much of the organisms in the soil. So you just want to just loosen this top and take the weeds out. That is a really good tool for that. A draw hoe only pulls, so you end up like scraping all your soil off, and it's not so nice to use. I prefer this. Also, if you're pulling back larger material, a draw hoe, it gets caught on there because it's only a little peg with a flat plate, whereas this has got that, so it there's nothing to get stuck on. The fifth tool I recommend is a fork, just a garden fork, standard fork. Load of muck into a fork. Well, that's it. You can also spread it out quite easily in beds like that. It's quite a good tool to have in the garden. You can also lift parsnips, potatoes, get perennial weed roots out with it. It's a really good tool to have. And the final tool I recommend is a shovel. Now, they're really good for loading compost and loading sawdust into a wheelbarrow, or just spreading it on the bed like that. You can draw it out with the back of a shovel, tamp things down. They're a really good tool to have. I wouldn't go without one personally, otherwise you'd be loading compost with your hands. They're not ideal for muck. I wouldn't go without the fork. Instead, I wouldn't pick a shovel over a fork for muck, because you've got all that surface area there and it just comes to a dead stop. Whereas when you've got finer things, to load it, it's a bit like, you wouldn't use a spoon. You wouldn't use a spoon for I don't know, meat, you'd use a fork, but you wouldn't use like a fork to load sugar into your tea either, so you know, you've got to have the both really. So yeah, that's another tool I'd recommend to have as a shovel. So the last tool I recommend, but it's more of a bonus, this one, is a Swiss Army knife. Reason being, it's got a blade that you can cut things with, like taking cuttings, you know. But another thing that is really good with these is you got a saw on them. Where is it? There. A saw on them that you can use to cut cabbages. So you can cut your cabbages off with that, and it's quite strong, quite a good blade. But also on this specific one, which is the Hiker, I think, it's got a little knife, and I use this for when I'm harvesting food for the house. So I keep this one as the herb one, if you like. So that'll go in tonight's supper. But you know, they're quite a good tool to have. You know, there's a screwdriver there if you got to repair something. This is the Hiker. It's a really good one, I believe. Probably better than some of the others. So yeah, that's a bonus.